This is Sarah Brash. So this might need to be a little bit longer video. I felt like I needed to do another video about Jon Haidt. So Jon Haidt is a moral monster and a complete fraud, and he helped Yale perpetrate the race hoax against me, and I believe that he needs to be investigated by the DOJ for helping Yale deprive me of my federal civil rights under the KKK Act. So as I had mentioned in my prior video, he's now helping, he's trying to cover himself, but he's also helping Yale try to cover up the witch hunt at Yale. And it's a complete grift, it's a complete fraud, it's a complete farce. I can't even imagine how much money Yale is paying Jon Haidt right now, because Yale, now all of a sudden Yale's decided that they're gonna teach the students, instead of having these woke DEI bureaucracies where they're indoctrinating the students in these woke, anti-free speech, woke DEI principles, they are now going to use Jon Haidt's Constructive Dialogue Institute to teach the students how to engage in civil discourse without ostracizing one another, without engaging in cancel culture. So of course this could not be a bigger joke, because Yale is the one who helped create the multi-billion-dollar, global woke DEI industry and CRT industry. Yale was led the witch hunt at Yale, and it's just, you obviously ostracized me, canceled me, completely abandoned their telos of truth, light and truth, and knowledge production for, the sake of woke DEI, for the sake of their multi-billion-dollar woke DEI industry, and allegedly social justice, but they aren't really actually engaging in any social justice work. They were just perpetrating race hoaxes against poor white students to justify their multi-billion-dollar woke DEI industry and bureaucracy belonging at Yale. So Jon Haidt, and now I believe that there was probably, some kind of quid pro quo between Yale president Peter Salovey and Jon Haidt from the very beginning. So Jon Haidt turned his fall 2018 book tour for The Coddling of the American Mind with Greg Lukianoff of the FIRE organization, which is a whole other story and can of worms. And he turned that into a part of the witch hunt at Yale. He led online moral outrage mobs on social media against me. So he's just a complete and utter fraud. He's a complete and utter fraud. So he claimed in this talk that he gave as part of Yale President Maury McGinnis's Trust in Higher Education Committee, they're trying to figure out, Jon Haidt's trying to help Yale figure out why the public lost trust in higher education. They just have no idea why the public lost trust in higher education. It's the most asinine, ridiculous thing in the whole world. So Jon Haidt just gave this absolutely just insane talk where he lied through his teeth, and he congratulated Yale on doing such an amazing job, teaching the students how to engage in civil discourse using his Constructive Dialogue Institute. Who knows how many millions of dollars Yale has paid Jon Haidt at this point to help them cover up the witch hunt at Yale. That is why he is doing this. So it's so fraudulent, and it's so evil, and it's so venal. It's just hard for me to even process how evil Jon Haidt is. So, and what a liar he is, and what a fraud he is. So he gave this asinine, ridiculous talk, right? And he talked about how, Yale's doing this amazing job. They're just laser focused on their telos of truth and light and knowledge production. And they've, and so he mentioned like social justice and wokeness like twice. Once where he talked about Matthew Iglesias, who's a monster also, and then at the very end. But he kept blaming it on the students. Everything was the students, the students, the students, and social media. That's why and then he said that in response to the students' demands for safetyism, for censoring free speech because they're allegedly too emotionally fragile to handle opinions that are contrary to whatever their core beliefs are. So he congratulated Yale on doing such an amazing job teaching these students. So everything was the fault of the students in this talk. Everything's the fault of the students and social media. And he called himself a techno-determinist. That this crisis that we're in, crisis of trust in higher education by the public, it's all because the fault of social media and the students. And the social media also made the students emotionally fragile so that they can't handle, contrary opinions, and so that they want censorship, and so they want safetyism. So this is all the fault of social media, it's all the fault of the students. The poor schools, they have no agency. A president of Yale University like Maury McGinnis obviously has no agency. So she's not in a position to do anything other than cede to the demands of these students who are demanding, safetyism and demanding censorship and demanding to be coddled because their brains have been warped by social media. So this is the thesis of Jon Haidt. Yes, it's completely absurd. He basically absolves the universities of any responsibility. He does say that they abandoned their telos of truth and light and knowledge production for social justice, but he said that he basically just says that they had no choice but to do this because they have no agency. They just had to cede to the whims of the students whom they're supposed to be teaching but not indoctrinating. So he completely absolves the professors, he completely absolves the university presidents, he completely absolves the university admins of any responsibility for destroying academia and for turning universities into woke DEI industries and bureaucracies. He completely absolves the universities, he absolves himself, of course, he absolves the professors, he absolves the admins of any responsibility for this. And he basically says, yeah, it's all the fault of social media, and that warped the minds of the students, and then they just imposed their will upon the universities, and this is why universities, became these, hotbeds of, anti-white racial discrimination, and also terrorizing Jews on campus. And, Jonathan Haidt wouldn't say that any anti-white discrimination was taking place because he doesn't think there were any race hoaxes. He condemned me as a racist as part of his book tour for the Coddling of the American Mind with Greg Lukianoff of the FIRE organization. That is a whole other can of worms. I have a story to tell about them. But so it's just a joke. And I couldn't be more disgusted with Jon Haidt. He's just a moral monster and a complete fraud. And this is such a farce. And the DOJ just needs to investigate him for what he did in collaboration with Yale, the way that they colluded to deprive me of my federal civil rights and my due process rights. I don't want this video to get too long, so I will stop there, but I'm gonna have so much more to say about Jon Haidt. Thank you guys. Have a great night. Bye.